Her laugh cut through the music before I even made it through the door. I was still handing my coat to the hostess when I heard it. That high, breathy laugh I hadn't heard in months. Not around me, at least. But there it was, echoing across the rooftop bar, polished and practiced, sliding out of her throat like a rehearsed performance. And no, she wasn't laughing at one of my jokes. She didn't even see me walk in. I stood there like a forgotten +1 while she grinned at her boss like he was the star of a rom-com. Her hand touched his chest in that "you're so funny" way that women use to send messages. Everyone around her was dressed like GQ exploded, and there I was, freshly shaved, stiff in a jacket I bought 2 hours earlier because she texted me, "Please don't embarrass me tonight." That text still burned in my pocket. I told myself I was overthinking, that maybe she was just being professional. Maybe it was just the office culture. But then I caught her eyes sweeping past me, like I was part of the wall decor, like I wasn't her husband, like I wasn't even there. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She didn't acknowledge me. She just turned away and leaned into her boss like they were mid-secret. I don't know why I stayed. Maybe because I needed to see how far it would go. Maybe I was still hoping I was wrong. I stood by the bar, holding a glass of something I didn't order, staring across the crowd like a kid waiting to get picked up from school. She moved through that room like it belonged to her. Not a glance, not a touch, not a whisper of recognition. She danced. She toasted. She whispered into ears I didn't recognize. When I finally tried to walk over, her back was already turned, literally, and she was laughing into someone else's neck. So I left. I didn't even get a full drink down. I set the glass on a tray like a ghost and walked right out the door, not even looking back. But 3 blocks away, in the cold, with my breath fogging in front of me, my phone buzzed. "Come back." That's all it said. No context. No, "I miss you." No, "Where are you?" Just those 2 words, barking into my soul like a command. I stopped walking. Just stood there, blinking at the screen. Not even 5 minutes ago, I was wallpaper to her evening. Now suddenly I mattered? And that's when the second message came in. Desmond's wife just showed up. "Please come back now." What the hell was going on? And why did my stomach twist when I read her boss's name? Because deep down, I already knew. I didn't move for a full 30 seconds. Just stood there like an idiot under a streetlight, her message glowing in my hand, snow starting to land in my hair. Desmond's wife just showed up. That sentence bounced around my skull like it was written in bold red letters. The street felt quieter than it should have. My heart was pounding in my throat, not because I missed her or wanted to go back, but because I realized something bigger was happening, something I wasn't supposed to be part of. She hadn't texted because she missed me. She texted because I was part of the alibi that just fell apart. She didn't want me. She needed cover. And that realization? It made me sick. I didn't text her back. I didn't turn around. I walked to the gas station on the corner, the one that still had flickering Christmas lights up, and sat in the plastic chair outside near the propane tank cage. I just sat there, cold metal biting through my jeans, staring at my phone screen while her messages kept coming. "Where are you? Please answer. I need you to come back. Right now. I'll explain everything. And finally, if you love me, don't leave me like this." That last one almost got me. Almost. But then I remembered how she looked past me, how she laughed at someone else's joke while I stood there like the janitor. I pulled up her location. Yeah, she never turned it off. Her dad was still at the rooftop bar, still surrounded by music and champagne and coworkers pretending to like each other. I zoomed in, stared at it like it might reveal something. But it didn't show him. It didn't show Desmond. It didn't show what she had said or done. It didn't show if his wife had really shown up. But something told me, deep in my gut, that this wasn't the first time they'd danced too close. And suddenly, all the late meetings, the overtime, the makeup in the car, the deleted texts, the nights she came home smelling like someone else's cologne, they all clicked into place like puzzle pieces I'd been too afraid to force together. I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I just wanted truth. I wanted to see. So I did something I'd never done before. I turned on the voice recorder on my phone. Then I walked back to the bar. I don't even know why I did it. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe I wanted to catch something. Her voice, her excuse, her lie, on record. I kept my phone in my coat pocket, screen down, audio rolling. When I walked through the door, everything felt different. People were scattered, whispering. The music had been turned down, like someone had kicked the party in the ribs. I saw Marlene immediately. Her hair was a mess. Her lipstick had faded. She looked pale. And then I saw the woman next to her. Older, stunning, and furious. Desmond's wife, I assumed. She had that sharp, icy look of someone who'd just detonated a marriage in public. And then Marlene spotted me. Her eyes widened like I was some lifeline, like the boat she'd pushed away had turned back. She actually ran to me. "There you are," she gasped, looping her arm through mine like we'd been attached all night. "I told you he just stepped outside," she said to Desmond's wife, her voice trembling. "Wendell and I were just getting air. Right, babe?" She turned to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Right." And in that moment, I could have played along. I could have nodded, lied for her, saved her from whatever collapse she was scrambling to delay. But I didn't. I just looked at her and said, "No, Marlene. I left because you made me feel like I didn't exist." You could have heard a pin drop. Her grip on my arm loosened. Her eyes darted toward Desmond's wife, who looked like she'd just received her final confirmation. And then all hell broke loose. She blinked like she didn't understand the sentence. Like I was supposed to stick to the script she'd written in her head. For a second, I wondered if she really believed I was going to save her, that I'd jump into her fantasy and help stitch up the mess like some loyal lapdog. But no. I stood there, coat still on, cold wind still clinging to my back, and I let the silence grow loud. Everyone turned. Conversations around us dropped off, like someone hit pause on the whole party. Marlene's lips parted slightly, but no words came out. That fake little smile died in real time, and the color drained from her face. Desmond's wife, God, I wish I knew her name, crossed her arms. She looked at Marlene with the kind of hatred you don't get from one bad night. No, this was layered. Heavy, like someone who had been collecting doubt piece by piece, waiting for the last one to fall into place. "So," she said quietly, "you didn't spend the last hour out on the balcony with your husband?" Her voice was low and calm, which made it worse. Marlene looked like she wanted to scream and run at the same time. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. The air said it all. The air around her was lying. Then came the sound. That sick little ding from someone's phone. Desmond's wife raised her hand, holding it up. A screenshot. She turned it around for just a second, and I caught a glimpse of it, a blurry photo. A reflection from a nearby building window. A silhouette. Two people too close. One in an orange dress. One with his hands where they didn't belong. Marlene's eyes locked on it. And for a second I thought she might faint. But she didn't. Instead, she did something worse. She turned to me like I was the villain. "Are you happy now?" She whispered, so quietly I almost laughed. Happy. Happy. That's what she thought this was about. I didn't even get a chance to respond before Desmond's wife let out a bitter laugh and walked straight past us, heels snapping across the marble like a final verdict. Desmond appeared seconds later, the man of the hour, now looking like a scolded child. His tie was gone, shirt unbuttoned too far, face pale. He looked at Marlene like he'd just realized she was radioactive. Then he turned toward me, of all people. "You didn't have to come back," he muttered, as if I'd ruined his night. I stared at him, really stared. For the first time, I noticed his cufflink was missing, his watch crooked. His lips were still stained red. And I realized, if that photo was from tonight, and it looked like it was, that meant they hadn't just flirted. They'd stepped over the line completely. Marlene must have seen the shift in my eyes, because her face collapsed. Her hands reached for me like that would fix something, but I stepped back. I reached into my coat pocket and stopped the voice recording on my phone. She noticed. "What is that?" she whispered. Her voice cracked. "What did you?" "Wendell, what did you record?" I didn't answer. She tried to grab it. "In public. Right there in front of everyone." "You can't do that," she hissed. "You can't record me." But her panic wasn't legal. It was emotional. She wasn't worried about me breaking laws. She was terrified I had caught something she couldn't erase. I held the phone tighter. Still didn't say a word. And then came the moment I'll never forget. Not because it was dramatic. It wasn't. It was quiet. Almost too quiet. She whispered, "Please don't destroy everything over a misunderstanding." And that was it. That was the moment I knew she was never going to admit it. Not even now. Not even when caught mid-lie, mid-cover-up, mid-collapse. She was still hoping I'd fall back in line. Be her husband again. Protect her. Lie for her. Disappear for her. But this time, I wasn't going anywhere. I don't remember walking out of the party. I just remember the doors slamming behind me, the warm buzz of 100 false faces disappearing into the night, and my hand still shaking around the phone in my coat pocket. I walked without direction, without thought, just numb, my brain trying to process the fact that my wife, had tried to use me like a human shield to dodge consequences she created behind my back. And worse, she didn't even try to apologize. She tried to control the narrative. She always had a talent for that, making everything seem like a minor misunderstanding, a slightly overcooked story that needed a little buttering up. But not this time. This time I had something she couldn't twist: audio, context, proof that I had been dismissed, ignored, then summoned only when the damage control team failed. I ended up sitting on a concrete planter 2 blocks away from the venue, just outside some closed Italian cafe, watching condensation rise off a sewer grate while my phone buzzed over and over again in my hand. Calls, voicemails, messages, all from her. The first few were fake calm. "Wendell, where did you go? Can we please talk?" Then came the slightly more urgent ones. "You're blowing this out of proportion. You really don't understand what's happening." Then finally, full panic. "You don't get it. This is my career. If she files a complaint, I'm done. Please, please, don't do anything stupid." Not one message included the words "I'm sorry." That silence said more than any text ever could. I finally stood up and headed home, walking the 2 miles back to our apartment because I couldn't stand the idea of sitting still. When I got there, everything was exactly the same. Her heels by the door, her coat on the hook, that stupid scented candle she always lit burning in the kitchen like a mockery of comfort. I looked around like a stranger. It felt like I'd walked into someone else's home. 15 minutes later, the front door opened, and there she was. Marlene. Hair still styled, lipstick reapplied, like she'd used the Uber ride to collect herself and re-enter the scene as the misunderstood victim. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at me, like she was waiting for me to speak first, like I owed her something. "I just need you to understand," she began, her voice perfectly calibrated to sound fragile, "that nothing happened. We've always been flirty, but that's how we are at work. It's performative. It means nothing." I laughed. Actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the sentence was so insulting it wrapped around to hilarious. "Performative?" I said. "You think grabbing his tie and giggling into his mouth is just office theater?" Her expression changed, just slightly. A twitch, a flicker of annoyance underneath all that carefully painted vulnerability. "That picture doesn't show what you think it does. And the lipstick on his collar? The missing cufflink? The panicked wife showing up and cornering you while you begged me to fake an alibi. Was that all just a dress rehearsal, Marlene?" She didn't answer. Instead, she walked over to me slowly and said, "I messed up. Okay, but I love you. I made a mistake. A mistake, Wendell. Don't blow up our life over something that barely happened." That word again. Mistake. Like she forgot to return a library book. Like she misplaced her keys. Like I was supposed to wrap my arms around her and say, "It's okay, babe. I forgive you. Let's just pretend this was a weird Friday." I pulled my phone from my coat pocket and opened the voice memo. "Want to know what a real mistake sounds like?" I asked. Her eyes widened. She reached forward. I took a step back. "You said some very interesting things while I was gone, and I think I should hear them again. Slowly, with clarity." Now the panic came back. "No, Wendell, please don't play that. You don't know how this will make things worse. I wasn't thinking straight. You're not thinking straight. We should talk to someone, get help. Therapy. We can fix this." But I was already scrolling to the start of the file. I hadn't even listened to it yet. I didn't want to. I wasn't ready to hear her voice in those moments. But I needed her to know I had it. I needed her to feel the same helplessness she threw at me every time she twisted the truth like wet cloth. That's when she changed tactics. "If you send that to anyone," she said, suddenly calm, too calm, "I'll tell them you recorded me without my knowledge. You'll be the one who looks insane. And guess what? They'll believe me." She stared at me like she already knew the ending of this story. And for the first time, I realized. So did I? She expected me to argue. She expected me to shout, to fall apart, to tell her she was evil, or broken, or not the woman I married. She was bracing for a fight. But I didn't give her one. I didn't even raise my voice. I just looked at her. Not through her like earlier, not past her like she did at the party, but at her. The way you stare at something that used to mean everything and now just makes your chest feel heavy. "Okay," I said. Just that. One word. Quiet. Cold. She blinked like she didn't understand it. Okay, she repeated. That's it. Yeah. I turned, walked past her into the hallway, opened the closet, and pulled out the small suitcase I used to take on my rare business trips. I could hear her footsteps behind me, rapid now, nervous. What are you doing? She asked. I'm giving you space, I said. To think. To remember what it feels like when I'm not in the room. But this time, it won't be convenient. Her jaw dropped slightly. She wasn't ready for this version of me. Quiet, deliberate, leaving without slamming the door. I didn't cheat, she said suddenly. Fast. Desperate. I didn't sleep with him. I never said you did. I replied without turning around. But you think I did. I think you could have told me the truth. Whatever it was. I zipped the suitcase, tossed in a charger, grabbed my car keys, and finally looked back. Her hands were shaking. You're leaving? She whispered. For now. I stepped past her again, felt the tension clinging to the air between us like static. This isn't revenge, Marlene. It's reality. You didn't just betray me. You made me optional. I'm just returning the favor. Then I walked out. She didn't follow. But when I got to the car and finally looked at my phone again, her name was already lighting up the screen. We need to talk. There's something else you don't know. And just like that, the silence got louder. I sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel with both hands, even though the engine was off. Her message was still on my screen. There's something else you don't know. That line hit different. It wasn't her usual deflection. It wasn't some weak excuse or emotional plea. It sounded real, and that terrified me more than anything she'd already done. I didn't answer right away. I just stared through the windshield at the blurry reflections on the wet pavement, wondering how many other things she'd tucked away in her silence. I thought I had uncovered the betrayal already, but now it felt like I'd only brushed the surface, like I'd kicked over a stone and found more movement underneath. She called. I let it ring. She called again, then again. Finally, on the fourth try, I answered, not because I was ready to hear her, but because I couldn't handle not knowing anymore. Her voice came through the speaker like it was being filtered through guilt. Thank you for picking up, she said softly. I wasn't sure if you would. I didn't respond, just listened. There's something I need to tell you before it gets out some other way, she continued. Something from a few months ago. I should have told you then. I just didn't know how. I still said nothing. The silence made her voice crack a little. It wasn't Desmond, she finally said. Not originally. The thing with him was recent, but there was someone else. It was stupid. It ended. But it happened. My heart thudded so hard I thought I might actually black out. I squeezed the wheel until my knuckles popped. Someone else, I repeated. So this isn't your first mistake. Just the first I caught. She didn't deny it. That was the worst part. She didn't rush to correct me or soften the blow. She just let the silence confirm it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something, anything, but I couldn't even feel my limbs. I felt frozen, hollowed out. Who? I asked finally, my voice lower than I'd ever heard it. It doesn't matter, she said, way too quickly. It matters to me. There was a pause. Then, his name was Jeremy. He worked at the gym. I was going through a rough patch. We were going through a rough patch. You were always working late, and I felt invisible. It just happened. Invisible. That word again. Like she had a quota for emotional justifications and picked the one that made her feel the least guilty. I could barely process the rest of what she was saying. Some trainer. Some younger guy who smiled at her a few too many times and became the outlet for all her resentment toward a life she chose. You said it ended. I muttered, unsure if I believed her. It did. Months ago. Before or after you asked me to start going to couples yoga? Silence. That told me everything. You brought me into the same building where you cheated? I asked, laughing bitterly. You watched me stretch next to the same mats where you were. God, Marlene. I didn't know how to fix it. She said, suddenly emotional. I thought if we did something together, I could kill the guilt. I didn't want to lose you. I thought I could bury it. You didn't bury it, I snapped. You fertilized it. You built around it. There was a long silence. I thought maybe the call had dropped. But then she said something that genuinely caught me off guard. I took a test. My pulse paused. What kind of test? I asked. She took a breath. A pregnancy test. Last week. And suddenly, everything around me faded. You're pregnant? I don't know, she whispered. I think so. I haven't told anyone else. Not even him. Not Desmond. Not Jeremy. No one. Just you. Just me, I repeated. And for the first time in my life, I felt like a ghost in my own marriage. Like I was watching the wreckage of a home I used to live in. Except I was the only one who didn't hear it collapsing. I didn't say anything for a long time. I just sat in the car with the phone to my ear, breathing like I was trying to stay conscious. Her voice kept repeating my name softly, like a child tugging at a locked door. But I was somewhere else. I was back at that yoga class, watching her guide my hand over some breathing pose, smiling at me like she hadn't already sold pieces of herself to someone else. I was remembering how proud she looked when she said we were reconnecting. I thought I was healing something, but she was burying landmines under every fake smile. "Wendell, please," she whispered. "Say something. Have you taken a second test?" I asked, my voice hollow. "No," she said. "I haven't had the courage. I don't know what I'll do if it's real." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "You mean if we're real?" She didn't respond. "I'll tell you what you're going to do," I said. "You're going to take the test. Today. And then you're going to tell me the truth about everything. No more half-truths. No more emotional gymnastics. No more blaming me for you feeling invisible. You want this to mean something? You tell me all of it." "And if I do," she asked, "then I'll decide if I'm still in this marriage," I said. "Not you. Not Jeremy. Not Desmond. Me." That seemed to hit her. I could hear it in the breath she held in her throat. "And if the baby isn't yours?" she asked quietly. I swallowed. "Then I'll thank you for confirming that I've been alone this whole time." Before she could say anything else, I ended the call. Not in anger. Just done. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in a cheap hotel room with peeling wallpaper and a broken heater, staring at the ceiling, playing every scene from the last 6 months in my head like a broken movie reel. Somewhere in that chaos, something became clear. I wasn't going to stay broken just because she couldn't decide what love meant. I didn't go back the next day. I didn't text. I didn't check in to see if she took the test. I didn't ask if Jeremy knew. I didn't reach out when Desmond's name started trending locally with vague scandal rumors on social media. I stayed silent. And for the first time in years, that silence wasn't punishment. It was peace. 2 days passed. On the third, she showed up outside the hotel. I heard the knock, soft and hesitant. I knew it was her. I didn't move. She knocked again, this time with more urgency, and then I heard the familiar sound of her voice through the door. "I took the test," she said, "and it's negative. There's no baby, Wendell. There's nothing binding you to me anymore. I wanted you to know." Still, I didn't answer. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't think I deserve that. But I wanted you to know that I've ended things with everyone. I quit my job. I started therapy. I'm not saying it to win you back. I'm saying it because you deserve the truth. For once." She waited. I opened the door slowly, not because I missed her, but because I needed to look her in the eye when I said what I came to understand. "You're right," I said calmly. "I do deserve the truth. I deserved it the moment I started treating this marriage like it mattered. I deserved it the night I stood by you at that party while you looked through me like I wasn't real." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'm not angry anymore," I added. "I'm not bitter. I'm just done living in a story where I'm the afterthought. I'm not staying because we had history. I'm leaving because I want a future, and it's not going to be written in lies." She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just lowered her eyes and whispered, "I hope one day someone gives you everything I couldn't." And with that, she left. I stood there alone in the doorway, heart still heavy, but this time it wasn't with grief. It was with clarity. 3 weeks later, I signed a lease for a small apartment overlooking the river. Nothing fancy, but quiet. Mine. I bought a secondhand coffee table and started using the French press she always said took too long. I found peace in the slowness. I didn't delete the voice recording. I didn't send it anywhere either. It sat on my phone like a scar, not bleeding, but real. Months passed, and one morning, as I was walking through the park, holding a cup of overpriced coffee and listening to a stranger play piano under the old bridge, I realized I was smiling. For no reason. No audience. Just me. I had lost a wife, but I had finally found myself.